What's up, y'all? It's me again with another video here in the Audio Ideas YouTube channel. We're doing another beat breakdown this week, and like we did 2 weeks ago, I already played a beat that we're gonna be breaking down today. I'd opened up the project for the sample. We're gonna be breaking this down and then come back to the beat project and see how that was made. And we're gonna start with what I probably started with in my process, which is usually the chords. So this is the main pad for the sample. I don't remember exactly where this sound came from. I think because of the file name, I think I started this on Ableton and then dragged it to FL Studio. But these are the chords for the sample. 2 chords. Recently, I've been doing a lot of samples with just 2 chords. After I had this pad down, I recorded these 2 guitars. They're slightly different, right? The one in the left. And the one on the right. And I really liked how they sounded together, so I ended up making them the main sound of the sample. How I processed this was I grouped these 2 together, routed them to this master guitar track. I used a Wolf compressor. I feel like I use the same plugins every single time. So the Wolf compressor, Pro Q3, cassette, which gave a nice texture to the sounds on the guitar. Suv 2, which is an insane plugin, and Valhalla Vintage Verb. I'll bet that I did the same stuff on the pad too. Oh, this is just the Pro Q3 cutting out the lows and some Valhalla Verb. Okay, cool. I wasn't expecting that. After I had the main pad and these 2 guitars, I usually started looking for bass sounds. This one is probably from Trillion. I've been using Trillion recently for bass sounds. There's a lot of really great sounds in there, but I still prefer to record my own bass. Just it feels more natural and I can do like little slides and everything. This one did its thing. It's literally just the root note playing on the downbeat of that chord. It's really simple. This sample in itself as a whole is really simple. So after I had that pad, those guitars, we had this. Which is a cool little vibe. I started looking for accents and I found this. I don't know exactly where is it from, but it sounded really good on top of the guitars. And I like that it's like slightly off tempo. This is what I did on the processing for this accent. This is how it sounds raw. Almost the same, right? So I had a Wolf compressor, shaper box for the painting that I always use, Valhalla delay, and some vintage verb. So this already, it's a really solid idea. I started looking for a little bit more sounds because I really wanted to start the sample with those guitars, but it don't fill out enough of the frequency space. So I found this bed sound that I used. Which is a really pretty sound actually. This is a really pretty sound. This may be from Contact or Augmented Pianos from Arturia. I'm not really sure, but it served its purpose of, you know, getting more stuff in the frequency space and filling it out more. This is almost the entire sample already, and then I did my signature move, which is finding splice vocals. These vocals are really nice. I really like the vibrato, like the very speed. Like if y'all look into the file name, you're gonna see that this vocal was originally recorded at 60 BPM, and then I brought it up to 93, put it down one semitone, then it really gave this really nice wobbly texture. What I did here on the mixing was similar to what I did on the guitar. So I just select those two tracks, right click, and then route to this track only, and then I do most of the processing, or in this case I didn't do most of the processing actually. I just used this for the shaper box to create the sidechain effects on both of them, but I actually did most of the processing on the track. Little Alter Boy, bringing it down -2 on the format. So that's how it sounds with no effects. That format shift gives it a more sample, like old texture to it, like an older vibe to it. Again, Wolf compressor. There's still a lot of high end on this, and I really didn't want high end on this type of melody, which is usually really muffled and in the back. I brought down some highs and lows. Some Valhalla Room. I've been using a lot of Valhalla Room recently. And this one, it's literally the same processing. It's the same processing, and I had this little like ad lib that I cut it from the first one with a lot of reverb. The mix is on 90% and almost 9 seconds of decay. I would usually stop right here, and this is like enough sounds to structure a cool melody. But what I did is, again, and this is really simple, I just grabbed the same MIDI, those same chords. I grabbed the same MIDI, pulled up Contact, went into the piano colors bank, and then I was scrolling through some sounds, and then I found this. and this is all the sounds that I used on the sample. I structured it probably longer than I should. This is like 2 minutes. It didn't need to be this long, but I ended up having a bunch of sounds. But like I said, and I'm gonna repeat this, it's not really hard. It doesn't need to be hard to have a lot of sounds in your sample. If you wanna do that, you can just find, for example, this is more of a ARP type of sound to give more movement. You can use the same chords, the same MIDI, just repeat that and scroll through some sounds. I went to piano colors because I know they have a bunch of sounds like this with just little like particles and arps, which is like really moody, especially when you reverse it. It sounds really good, right? So this is the entire sample. I just started with the guitars, which became the main sounds of the sample, the bass and the vocals. I brought the pad in the second half of it and then structured it in this way. What I usually do, and I'm just saying this is probably a mistake on my part. The way I do stems when I'm gonna send out is repeat the entire, and I talked about this on another video, but repeating the entire structure. I repeat everything like this, the same thing. Right, I repeat everything and I remove the vocals and the bass. On this case, and this is probably a mistake, I just removed the bass and I kept the vocals, right? But I usually also like move the vocals in the back, and then I automate everything to not bleed, you know, into the other sound. So this way you already have a really cohesive structure. You don't need to cut every single little part, every single, you know, 8 bars of the sample and restructure everything from the ground up. Sometimes, especially like in sounds like this, because it's really simple for me to visually see when the sound starts, but you need to think that the person who's gonna grab the sample as one wave file, one mp3 file with the master, this is not like easy to understand when it starts and when it ends, so they need to cut it, right? So I just slip this in anyways and just remove the parts that people might want to mess around with, and remove like the bass. Obviously people are gonna, you know, want to do their own bass and everything. So this is how I made the sample. Really simple. I felt like this was really fast actually. I think the hardest part was the guitar, but the majority of the sounds were really simple to do. 2 chords, this stamp feature on FL Studio that you can just grab the stamps, right? This is how I made these chords. I just grabbed the stamps, then I have this like a minor chord, and then I just brought this down an octave, you know, inverted this, did this or that or whatever, right? It's really simple to do using the stamp feature. So this is the sample. I'm gonna go to the beat project and break that down for y'all. Okay, so we're back on the beat project. As you guys can see, I just dragged the sample in here. I cut out the bass, so this is a different file. I mean, it's the same file that I cut out on MIDI unique as sample, so I can have the sample, the actual sample in one track, and the other track just the bass. This is the main bounce. I really got into the habit when using Ableton of just dragging the samples in instead of using the MIDI. I actually really like it. Being able to visually see where everything hits, being able to fade stuff, to manually mess around with the volume. It feels much faster, much nicer to being able to edit like little things and move around little things. I really like dragging the samples in the project nowadays. So how can I start breaking this down? Majority of the times when I'm making beats, I start with the kick and the snare bounce. Really simple bounce with the kick and the snare. And like I said on the other video, the way I'm finding these samples is just going here, like rim, and then I scroll through a bunch of rims, right? I'm also using this star feature on FL Studio, so I can have like my favorite sounds. Like this rim is this one, and this kick is this one, right? This is actually a really great feature that ImageLine brought from Ableton. Is really useful. So this is the kick and the snare bounce is what I usually start with. After I did this, I probably went through the hi-hats. Again, really simple. I found this sub sound, this bass sound that I actually used a bunch of times before. I've used it on beats, I used it on samples, and I love it. And again, really simple bass. I wanted this beat to have this really like simple, straight like bounce, just feeling like a night drive type stuff, like just going straight up. No, not a lot of bass lines and like different like kick bounces or everything like or anything like that, right? When I was scrolling through sounds, I also found these two percussion like buzz sounds and this shaker that I used it repeating throughout the whole beat, and this other buzz sound, like it's actually the same. Yeah, it's the same as this one. This is basically the entire beat. I was looking through some fills, and then I found this thing from Oliver, which I had to chop to fit the tempo. I actually did like a triplet sample of this. This is the original, and then I chopped it up. It's like a triplet. And then it drops into the beat. Really simple 808 sound, complementing a kick. For the mixing, well, I had this Valhalla room on the buzz sound, obviously to create the room reverb. And I also have, if y'all can see when I select the kick, I have these 3 side chains going through the bass, the original bass from the sample, the 2 bass sounds that I use, the bass sound and the 808. Then I had a fruity limiter to make the side chain. I side chain my basses. It gives a really good sound, right? And even on the 808, you let that trains in from the kick just hit. And I also side chain from this bass. And this is it for the sample. I think the only other thing just reversed it. Just reversed it on the outro to do this little thing. And this is basically the entire beat made on FL Studio. And I think this is it. The entire beat and the sample. Again, it's really simple. I think you can actually hear how simple it is. There's not a lot of different directions, not a lot of different like switch ups and everything. 2 chords through the entire sample, but being able to stack some sounds like the guitar and the pad and the other pad and the vocals, it creates like this movement. But I also wanted a really monotone sound to the beat. I hope y'all enjoy this. I hope y'all like this. I hope you learn anything from watching this video. I really appreciate you watching this, and we'll see each other in the next one. Peace.